Look, I get it. Your grandfather just died and you're given the eulogy. Turns out Pop was a massive weeb and wrote in his will that he wants at least 30 Jujutsu Kaisen references in his speech. You don't know what a Jujutsu Kaiser is? What is that, some kind of German martial artist? Well, thankfully I'm here to walk you through the show and make sure you're ready to give Granddad a proper send-off. So sit back and let me explain Jujutsu Kaisen. The show opens with totally normal teenager Yuji Itadori being a totally normal teen. He's just your average, super strong, super fast, super handsome, shot put champion of the world. You know, just your average teenage boy. Yuji visits his dying grandfather at the hospital every night after Ghost Club. Even though his grandfather can be prickly, it's clear he appreciates Yuji being there for him and gives him some wise words. You know, maybe his grandfather really just wants to become closer to Yuji, take an interest in the things he likes. And what better way to connect with his grandson than by becoming the new official mascot of Ghost Club? By dying. What, too soon? By the way, why can old people just magically will themselves to death in shows like this? I try every morning, and yet here I am! As you roast him up! Look, I get that you're trying to look on the bright side, but your grandfather died like 3 minutes ago. Let's not talk about him like he's a spliff. Elsewhere, we see a 2006 Axe hair gel model panicking because he can't find the item he was looking for, which is apparently something known as a cursed object. Jesus Christ, look at the hair in this show. Why is everybody in this town just a different breed of sea urchin? He follows the curse energy left by the object and finds its strongest around Yuji. It turns out Yuji found and took the cursed object from the box and gave it to one of his fellow Ghost Club members. So, I'm sure that's probably fine. Cactus Head, otherwise known as Megumi Fushiguro, doesn't seem to think so, however. He explains that every year there are roughly 10,000 unexplained deaths that happen within Japan, and most of these are caused by curses. Curses spawn from the energy released by humans' negative emotions. So schools, hospitals, and other places that harbor negative emotions are perfect breeding grounds for such creatures. Because of this, schools will often use powerful cursed objects to ward off less powerful curses. Over time, the seal holding in the power of a cursed object will weaken, dampening the ward. The object Yuji took has an incredibly weak seal, and is now currently missing. But like I said, I'm sure everything is fine. Oh, never follow the taint, bro. That was your first mistake. Megumi hunts down the cursed object and whips out some sick hand signs that bring a whole new meaning to the word shadow puppet. This dude has some of the sickest powers in the show. He uses shadow puppet hand signs to summon different types of animals, including these two certified good boys. And if Naruto, The Witcher, and now this have taught me anything, it's that hand signs will never not be badass. Megumi finds Yuji's friend in the middle of getting berserked, as the monster tries to devour the cursed object in order to gain its power. Megumi knows he won't make it in time to stop it, but Yuji's like, you think a 12-foot tall demon's gonna keep me out? Dog, did you see me throw that shot put? Get the fuck down! So, normal-ass high school student Yuji Itadori, I'm pretty sure jumps 3 stories into the air and bonks the shit out of the curse. They recover the cursed object, which turns out to be a demon's finger. Gross, the less Yuji touches that, the better. But another curse is waiting in the shadows to rock their shit. And Itadori's like, bitch, what'd I tell you? What, you think this is a game? You think this is a game of shot put? Cause I'd school your ass in that too! Unable to kill this thing with his bare fucking hands, totally normal, borderline flying high school student Yuji Itadori decides to, oh god, an entire finger! Swallowed it whole, just like that, huh? God, Yuji's gonna be great at taking shots in college. Kid can really open his throat. He absorbs the finger's cursed energy and, oh great, no, that's just perfect. Now he's even more handsome. Look at him, the dude's got gorgeous eyes that are also perfect cheekbones. How is that fair? That tasty little finger sandwich doesn't seem to be sitting right in Yuji's stomach though. And the incredibly powerful demon it once belonged to, named Sukuna, keeps trying to take over his body. But Yuji's not about to give up his studio apartment for a double, and actually manages to maintain control of his body. Megumi fucking hates the situation going on right now, and readies to kill them both when his master appears. This blindfolded sea enemy is Gojo, and he's... what's the best way to describe him? He's... a silly bitch.
別に
What? Not particularly? What do you mean, not particularly? You grew a new set of eyes and have tattoos sometimes. I would perchance to say there is something off with your body. Gojo is impressed that Yuji is able to control Sukuna and tells him to let Sukuna take over for 10 seconds. Why 10 seconds? Well, this silly bitch wants to show off.
生徒の前なんでねかっこつけさせてもらうよ
And also, flirt? Gojo shows Sukuna the worst 10 seconds of his life before knocking his jorts-wearing Crash Bandicoot-looking ass out. Yuji wakes up in Gojo's beehive, and Gojo tells him that he's scheduled to be executed. So, you know, not great. He also explains that he and Megumi are what's known as Jujutsu sorcerers, individuals trained to protect humanity from cursed spirits. Yuji has a portion of Sukuna's power within him, and executing him will in turn destroy that power. However, some of Sukuna's power also resides in his other fingers, of which there are 20. If all 20 fingers are consumed and the person who consumes them is killed, then Sukuna will be fully destroyed. So Gojo gives Yuji a choice. Either get his execution over with now, or locate and consume the other 19 fingers, growing stronger but more unstable with each finger consumed, and then get executed. Honestly, I think I'd rather die than eat a single severed finger. Yuji's a madman for picking option B. Yuji gets sent to Jujutsu High, which is hype, gotta love a good anime magical high school, and becomes one of only 3 first-year students. The Sea Urchin squad heads into Tokyo to pick up the final first year, who's a very intense girl named Kugasaki Nobara. Her design is pretty boring, but maybe I'm just bitter that she doesn't fit in with my running sea creature joke. And before you sexist pigs start thinking that she's just the woman of the group, let me tell you right now, she
釘崎野原喜べ男子こう言ってんよ
is. She's pretty rough around the edges, but her and I basically have the same style of humor.
見るからに芋臭い
So by default, she's my favorite. Gojo takes Megumi and the 2 completely untrained first-year students to a cursed building for their first mission. Which is wild, if you ask me. Yuji found out curses exist, like, yesterday. Don't you think it's a bit early to be sending him straight into the fire? Yuji doesn't know how to use curse abilities yet, so Gojo gives him a weapon to defend himself with. I can't tell if this is the tiniest sword or the fattest knife. But either way, definitely give Yuji a better weapon, please. Yuji's attacked by a horrible, disgusting... retail worker and slaughters it without a problem. Meanwhile, Nobara hunts down the other curse. What is this, the Tiny Weapons Club? What, did you get that hammer from a Doc McStuffin's playset? What are you gonna do with... Oh Christ, never mind, that looks painful as hell.
決まった
Nice! They exorcise all the curses in the building and save the child that was being held hostage inside of it. A successful first mission. Elsewhere, it seems that the sky is, giving birth. So that's a nightmare. Hey, we're gonna do something about that, right guys? Oh good, we agree. The gang heads to the site of the curse womb where a Jujutsu High official explains to them that the womb is incubating a special grade curse. You know, like the highest level of curse? The same level the ultra-powerful Sukuna is? Yeah, what was the title of this episode again? Someone much stronger than a couple of first years should probably be handling this mission, but apparently the Jujutsu sorcerers are short-staffed at the moment. Not even kidding, that's their actual reason for sending these 3. Their mission is to rescue survivors and stay out of conflict under any circumstances. But you know they're probably gonna get into some conflict. The official puts a veil over the building to conceal it from the outside world, and the gang heads inside. They track down some of the survivors' corpses. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. They track down some corpses, and Yuji wants to bring them back to their families. Megumi says they aren't worth risking their lives for, and then everything goes to hell. They start grabbing each other, Nobara falls through the floor, Demon Dog is dead! Hey guys, we got some conflict! A curse shows up, and this one's a whole ass sea creature, so you know he's powerful. Everyone always praises the show's animation, which is consistently great, but this is the episode where it really shone for me. Everyone in this show more or less looks like your typical Mappa character design. Thin, consistent outlines, weird hues in the skin tones, but the creativity in this show's art style really comes to life in this character's design and attacks. The thick, sketchy outlines, the disturbing, uneven textures in the skin, harsh blacks mixing with bright colors. Everything about this character's design highlights the artistic style of this show in a way that most of the other characters just don't. But you know what? How strong could this thing really be? I mean, what is some fish to the undisputed shot put champion of the... Huh. Would you look at that? Okay, fuck that. Let's check up on Nobara. Okay, fuck that. Let's check up on Yuji. Yuji takes losing his hand shockingly well, and bargains with Sukuna to aid him. Sukuna, being the cheeky bitch that he is, you get it? Tells Yuji that if he gives him control, he's gonna kill both of his friends. Because he's mean, I guess. So that doesn't leave Yuji with a whole lot of options. He tells Megumi to find Nobara and leave the building. Yuji will distract the demon and switch with Sukuna once they're out of harm's way. Meanwhile, the demon busts out those fucking thighs, so you know things are about to heat up. Megumi finds and rescues Nobara, and thank God because Yuji's running out of hands. Jesus, man, take it easy. You're a shonen protagonist. Everything's gonna be alright. Yuji finally summons some curse energy, channels it into his fist, and shows his belly dancing trout who's boss. Okay, that doesn't work, so instead, he tags in Sukuna when he hears Megumi's signal. Thanks, buddy, knew you had my back. Sukuna grows Yuji's limbs back, and decides to have a little fun. Aw, look at him getting creative. Sukuna performs a technique called domain expansion, which we'll get into more later. But all you need to know right now is that it fillets the shit out of this fish. The curse apparently had one of Sukuna's fingers in it, so that's 3 down and 17 more to go. With the curse destroyed, Sukuna patiently waits for Yuji to regain control. Sukuna patiently waits for Yuji to regain control. Sukuna patiently waits for Yuji to regain control. Guys? Oh, that's so good. Sukuna goes outside to tell Megumi the good news, or bad news depending on your perspective, and goes right back to his most preferred state, being shirtless. He swallows the finger, so that's a win for the finger mission, but tears Yuji's heart out, which is a loss for the keeping Yuji alive mission. Without a heart, Yuji will die if he tries to swap out again. So that's a bummer. Obviously, Megumi can't just let Sukuna escape, so it's time for him to put on the best goddamn shadow puppet show of his life. Oh god, you know you're fucked when the villain starts dance fighting you. But you know, this would be a lot more intimidating if we didn't see Gojo do the exact same thing to you like 4 episodes ago. Yeah, you remember that, Sukuna? Not feeling so tough anymore, are ya? Look at this absolute thrashing! Bloop! Coming in like motherfucking bop! Oh, you think your Shadow the Colossus Bird's gonna help you? Bitch, you thought! Sukuna has Megumi on the ropes, and Megumi reveals a pretty dope motivation, at least in terms of how it connects to Yuji. Megumi had a sister who was an incredibly kind soul and died at a young age. Meanwhile, his father, who he resents for giving him a girl's name, I guess, is still out somewhere living his life to the fullest. Megumi realized that karma isn't distributed evenly, and sometimes good people suffer fates more appropriate for the wicked. So as a result, look, there's nothing super unique about this motivation. I mean, Megumi is essentially the Red Hood to Yuji's Batman. But it becomes interesting when you consider how it affects their relationship. Yuji's grandfather gave him the blanket request of save as many people as possible. It doesn't matter who, just save as many people as you can so you'll be surrounded by loved ones when you're on your deathbed. But the type of people that surround Yuji on his deathbed is important too. Isn't it? Isn't it more important to be surrounded by good people than bad ones? Or is it worth saving everyone because even morally corrupt people can change their ways? Maybe Yuji doesn't have the right to decide who lives and dies. Or maybe he'd be responsible if the person he saves ends up killing someone afterwards. Alone, Megumi's motivation isn't anything super compelling. But what makes it interesting is how it can affect and develop Yuji's. Speaking of which, despite their conflicting ideologies, Megumi decides that Yuji is somebody worth saving and readies for another attack. And then unreadies. And then, technically, through the power of friendship, Megumi brings Yuji back and the day is saved. Oh, never mind, I mean Yuji fucking dies. Yeah, bad call, man, the dude still doesn't have a heart. Okay. That sucks. So anyway, a volcano, a cuttlefish, a ginger root, and a weeb walk into a bar. And if you think that was the setup for a joke, well then the joke is on you because this situation does not end funny. You know, I was kidding about the sea creature stuff before, but this is honestly getting ridiculous. Oh, by the way, regular humans can't see curses, which, seems like important information to give you now more than ever. Back at Jujutsu High, Gojo laments Yuji's death. He also suspects that some Jujutsu higher-ups weren't happy with him suspending Yuji's execution, and purposefully sent him on a mission that would get him killed. Megumi and Nobara are equally as upset with Yuji's death, but their sulking is interrupted by 3 second-year students. Maki, Inumaki, and a fucking bear. The bear's name is Panda, and that's about as deep of an explanation on him as you're gonna get for now. Maki's a bitch for now. Inumaki is only capable of speaking in rice ball ingredients.
マジで死んでるんですよ。昨日1年坊が1人。
Which is always annoying and never endearing, and Panda's a panda. But trust me, these are going to be some of the best characters in the show. They aren't yet, but they will be. They're here to invite the first years to an upcoming event with a neighboring high school. So, a tournament arc, basically. Think the Chunin exams from Naruto, because it's literally that. I know people don't like how frequently I compare shonen anime to Naruto, but I swear to God, it is literally the Chunin exams. Megumi and Nobara agree because they want to get stronger in honor of their friend's death. Wow. Even though they'd only known him for a couple of weeks, his death was enough to motivate them too. So anyway, Yuji's back. So that's kind of a bummer. I don't know, when I first saw this, I was so hyped to see that Sukuna took over Yuji this early on. I thought Yuji actually died and Sukuna was gonna become the main antagonist. I mean, what a sick subversion that would have been. If the show actually faked us out with who the real protagonist was, turned Yuji into a martyr, and then put the spotlight on some of the side characters. Anyway, Yuji and Sukuna fight within Sukuna's domain, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. Sukuna obviously doesn't want to stay dead, and Yuji can relate. Sukuna also explains that he saw something in Megumi that he found interesting, and wants to test his potential in a future fight, which is why he let him live earlier and switched back with Yuji. So Sukuna makes him a deal.
剣は2つ。1、俺が啓発と唱えたら1分間体を明け渡すこと。2、この約束を忘れる。
But fuck that noise! Yuji's not about to agree to something like that without a fight! So Yuji agrees, and Sukuna resurrects the two. Gojo's planning a coup against the Jujutsu sorcerer higher-ups pretty loudly. But since he's literally the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in existence, well, who's gonna stop him? Yuji wakes up to the most ruthless reaction anyone could give after seeing somebody naked.
ちょっと残念。
And Gojo decides that he wants to keep Yuji's status of being, you know, alive, hidden so that he can train him before he's targeted again. Back at the restaurant, the three curses are meeting with a rogue Jujutsu sorcerer to discuss taking over the human world. The sorcerer tells them that they have to fulfill 2 requirements before they can ever hope to win that war.
強と言われる男五条悟を戦闘不能にすること2つ目両面宿儺虎杖裕二を仲間に引き込むこと
A waiter tries to take their order, and we get the most horrific teaser for the show Fire Force you could ever imagine. Yup, you see, this is exactly why I stopped being a waiter. God, this poor girl is having the most terrifying day of her dining career. Anyway, remember how Yuji wanted to bring those corpses back to their families and Megumi said no? Well, it turns out Megumi grabbed one of their name tags and returned it to his mother. Not super relevant to the story, but a pretty cool emotional beat. Elsewhere, Gojo begins training Yuji in secret.
ではまずあちらの缶ジュースをご覧ください
Yeah, they look delicious. Christ!
レーガンとか挽回とか螺旋丸とかドドンパとか
今は使えないだけ
Dodon Ray? Out of all the Dragon Ball techniques, you choose Dodon Ray? Even people who can use Dodon Ray wish they knew other techniques. Yuji trains his cursed energy control, and Gojo leaves to go off on some mission or something. He's attacked by Charcoal Breath, otherwise known as Jogo. Usually I try to cover only one arc in these videos to keep them clean and self-contained. If I were doing that here, I would have stopped the video like 2 episodes ago. But for those of you who have seen this show already, well, you know why I had to include this episode. Gojo fights Jogo, which I can already tell is gonna make reading the script a living hell. And this fight is insane. Jogo's whole moveset is volcano themed, which is just specific enough and just ridiculous enough to be awesome. Unfortunately for him, this guy has no idea who he's up against.
まだまだこんな なものか。
What do you mean that's all it took? Dude's head was on fire, then he exploded. I'd say it took a decent amount, give him some credit. Oh, but you thought that attack would stop him? Gojo's an anime fan, alright? This guy hasn't been touched in years. No, seriously, Gojo is so legitimately overpowered that there is actually a 2-inch thick barrier protecting him at all times. He's like that kid on the playground who's always like, nah, your missiles didn't hit me because I had a shield. Mom, Derek won't play fairer. But maybe, just maybe, he'll learn to drop those barriers and open up his heart. He was a volcano monster. He was a blind hipster. And together, they were something more. But society said no! From here on, Gojo just starts annihilating reality. Each of his attacks are more nonsensical and more awesome than the last. Gojo is so above this guy's level, in fact, that he has time to leave the fight, grab Yuji, and bring him back before this dude even recovers from his last hit. The reason Gojo brought Yuji is to teach him a lesson in domain expansion. You know, that technique Sukuna used in a previous episode. Domain expansion is a technique where someone uses cursed energy to construct an innate domain and bring others into it. It's an incredibly powerful technique that not only boosts the stats of its user and traps those caught inside of it, but all attacks from the domain host are guaranteed to land within it. Basically, it's an ultimate move that drags your opponent into your own personal realm. Gojo figures that the best way to fight this technique is to counter it with his own, much stronger domain expansion. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the moment you've all been waiting for. That's what's under his blindfold? I thought it'd be 2 empty eye sockets, not a pair of the most precious baby blues I've ever seen in my life. Gojo's domain fucking shatters this dude's psyche. Gojo turns reality into a tie-dye shirt from the clearance bin at Zoomies, and Jogo's mind can't fucking handle it. Are we sure he even expanded his domain? Or is this just a visual representation of getting lost in Gojo's eyes? Splayed out before Jogo are the limits of infinity. He feels everything, senses everything. He and the universe are one, and an indescribable, incomprehensible bliss consumes him. Then, in that instant, Gojo tears off his fucking head. Gojo interrogates the headless demon, or headed demon, rather, but his friend from earlier rescues him. What do you do? Gojo just sliced all of this thing's arms off and lit it on fire with one move. What are your powers? So, with all the basics of Jujutsu sorcerers explained and a clear group of antagonists established, Yuji's ready to properly begin his training. And I'd say you're at least ready to start the first draft of your grandfather's eulogy. Well, it's definitely not my favorite modern shonen anime. I can see why it's gotten so popular. The animation is undeniably gorgeous. The characters' powers are super interesting and really creative, and the fights are spectacular. I wish they subverted a few more shonen tropes rather than just leaned right into them, but the characters, action, and premise are all compelling enough that it makes it hard not to want to just binge through every episode. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this video in the comments below. Let me know if you want a part 2 to this video, and check out some of the other Let Me Explains I've got on my channel. Also, if you like this video and you want to see some exclusive content not found anywhere else, make sure you consider subscribing to my Patreon. Your subscriptions help support the channel a ton and get you access to exclusive videos not found on any other site. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.
But now I always seem to freeze.